Everything in the world is done. All right, Schwarber leading off. At least hit a home run. And we are live. Welcome to the MLB Deeper Dive. It is Wednesday, August 23rd. I am Josh Engleman. I am joined by Matt Belman. We're brought to you by Caesars, and this is the second slate for today. 6 games going on tonight. I assume the Reds-Angels game is going to be a thorn in our side all the way up until 9 o'clock. Ohtani already gone from the early. Fun stuff all around. Hit the like button if you haven't done it already. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. All that good stuff. Matt, what's going on, man?
Nothing, bro. Another day in paradise, I guess, with this early slate. We're both pretty much on the same page there. Looking forward to talk about this night slate. It is a rare occurrence, and I mean rare. This only happens a couple times a year, where I actually prefer the FanDuel slate.
Nice. Okay. I assume because they're leaving off Angels Reds.
Well, 2 reasons. One, they're leaving off Angels Reds, which just creates less of a shit show. And then 2, so I don't love the pitching options on this slate. Like Gausman is obviously an ace, one of the best pitchers in baseball. I really don't like using pitchers against Baltimore. So, there is no perfect pitcher on this slate. I think Aaron Savali looks just really, really good, especially considering FanDuel scoring, where like there's less emphasis on strikeouts. Like usually, I just prefer DraftKings over FanDuel. And usually, maybe the pricing's a little bit different, but it's basically all the same. Today, it's not, because you can play Savali and you don't have to worry about the doubleheader. So I'm playing a little bit lighter on DraftKings and playing some FanDuel.
There we go. That's fun.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess we're going to talk some baseball today. I'm still making a couple tweaks, still letting my final crunch run. So I'm trying to filibuster at least a little bit before we got to get ourselves started here. That early slate is really just becoming the biggest pain in the ass to me, seeing that Paul DeJong homer. I would have rather just not noticed that it happened.
Yeah, I'm so with you there. It's like such a kick in the nuts, considering everything else that happened in this slate.
It's so tilting. Well, do you want to talk some baseball?
I do. I'm a little scared because I watched most of your video this morning, and we agree on a lot of the same stuff. So I'm excited to talk it out at least.
Well, let's see where I'm at now after this morning, because everything might be a little bit different. My little crunch and sim just finished, so I'm going to click refresh in my sheet first. Give it a second. A lot of data got to move around here on the screen, so I'm going to wait until that settles out, and then we can start breaking this bad boy down. I had way too much Angels last I looked. I don't really want to do that again for the second part of today, but I have a sneaky suspicion that's going to happen. But I'm going to be okay with it. I'm going to like it on paper. And I like Reed Detmers tonight for sure, but that's a game that we're not going to talk about for another 50 minutes or something like that. This is just
Ohtani stay in as a hitter.
No.
He left as a hitter also.
Yeah.
Damn. So that's such a, like, who knows if he's going to play tonight now?
It's kind of a pain in the ass to think about because obviously there's not like a natural swap for him other than, hoping that you have him in outfield spots and getting Trout, I guess, assuming Trout plays in the night because he didn't play in the early.
And he's been removed as a pitcher a few times, especially lately, and he has not been removed as a hitter. So that is a concern for sure.
Yeah, it's at first I thought he was going to stay in, and then when I looked over it, they had just brought him out for whatever that new young dude is. Okay, I've got my lineups in now, or I have lineups ready to go now. So you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's get into it. The Baltimore Orioles have a 3.8 run implied total. The Blue Jays, 4.3. It's Dean Kramer going for Baltimore. Was supposed to be Flaherty. It is now Dean Kramer. Kevin Gausman going for Toronto. Gausman, 30% owned, 10,600. Most expensive pitcher on the slate. Let's just start with Kevin Gausman. How do you feel about the 30% ownership? Does that look right to you? How do you feel about him against Baltimore?
So 2 different questions in there. I understand the ownership. I think he's by far the best pitcher on the slate as far as, fantasy goes. And even in terms of stuff right now, Kershaw's fallen off a little bit. Gausman's in his prime. I don't feel great about the spot. Baltimore's an elite offense, particularly against right-handed pitching. They got to him the last time they faced off, so it's not like he's impervious to getting hit. He's actually got hit around a couple times recently, not often, but it's happened to him. So not safe, but his strikeout upside builds in so much like padded floor and higher ceiling. So I think he looks like the best pitcher on the slate. I completely understand the ownership because there aren't really two guys you're going to feel comfortable with. Even Detmers, who's getting a ton of ownership, it's not like you feel like all warm and fuzzy rostering him either. So I think Gausman looks very good even at that price, knowing there's a lot of risk here.
Yeah, I think he's definitely the best pay-up option. I think Detmers is probably the best overall option because of his price tag, but no disagreements with getting to Gausman. We have him 31% top two pitcher. I had him 29. 30 seems about the right spot, and that's exactly where his ownership is. So I don't think there's too much to really like hand ring for those guys.
Not going to be at all surprised either. Sorry to cut you off, but just you're good. Real quick. I think Detmers and Gausman will be the chalk quote unquote pairing. I think it'll be the most popular pairing. I think, you'll get some spread around ownership, but I just have a hard time seeing Severino, even at that price point, like pulling almost as much ownership as Gausman. That said, I'm excited to talk about not excited, but I'm interested to talk about Severino because I don't like the pitching on this slate. Gausman's scary, but he's the best pitcher on the slate.
Yeah, the Severino thing is we're going to dig into that one because I think there's more than meets the eye at that one. And I'm really curious to get your thoughts. What about Dean Kramer on the opposite side? 6,700 here against the Blue Jays. Not a lot of strikeouts. It's obviously a lot of power, like we've talked about. Price tag certainly works. His top two pitcher odds are 13%. His value is certainly better than that. He's 12% owned. Seems about right to me.
It seems about right. I personally don't have interest. I think compared to Jose Urquidy, Quintana, he's right in that mix. Probably not the guy I would use between them, but I don't have any argument for the other guys. He fits right in there. I don't want to pick on Toronto right now. Toronto's big problem this year has not been getting guys on base. It's been getting them to score runs. So I feel like they're an offense that could turn thing around sooner rather than later. They don't strike out. No thanks there.
All righty. Well, then let us get into the bats. Blue Jays are 7th in ownership, 8% in the aggregate. Orioles quite a bit lower at 11th out of the 12 teams, 3.8% in the aggregate. No surprises. You're not going to see Baltimore pick up a lot of ownership against Kevin Gausman. How do you feel about the Toronto stack? I'm quite a bit higher on Toronto in general and quite a bit over the field on someone like Bo Bichette, Dalton Varsho, especially in this sort of spot. Do you like the Toronto stack?
I love Toronto here. They're personally my second favorite stack on the board. Now that's considering ownership and all that GPP leverage. Obviously, if you're going to ask me, it's the Braves and Dodgers. They're the top two because it's the Braves and Dodgers. But for tournament purposes, I really love Toronto here. They were close last night against Rodriguez. It doesn't mean that they're going to do anything tonight based on that. But Varsho hit a 2-run homer. They got the next two guys on after that. Kiermaier hit a line drive down the line that happened to be caught, and then he tagged the base for a double play. They're close, in my opinion, just from watching them. Again, I'm not playing them because of that, but it's something that you guys always talk about. When Toronto does good, they hit home runs. They don't have a ton of lefties, which stinks, but the improvements of Dalton Varsho has really, really deepened this lineup. It makes me, more interested in the top guys when he's getting on base, he's hitting for power. I like Toronto a lot here. They're not going to get love. They hit home runs. Kramer is fine. He's not we need to pick on Kramer, but that's why Toronto's not getting any love. And I'm not scared to pick on him either. So I like Toronto a lot here.
I'm going to push back and say you should pick on Dean Kramer, but they don't have as many options to do so. Over the past 2 seasons, 210x ISO to lefties for Kramer, 116 park factor for lefty power in Baltimore. If you just look at this year, 256, including a 221 real ISO. He's had real problems with lefties. Now that's going to be Belt, Varsho, Kiermaier. That's it, unfortunately. But even if you look at the last 2 years, not a ton of strikeouts over the past 2 years. He's had a little bit more against righties, but 170 x ISO to righties this season, 168 if you include 2022. Swinging strike rate sort of in the middle. Righties still get there and still get to him a little bit. So I don't mind getting a little bit heavier against Dean Kramer. I'm very happy after my first run to see myself getting to Toronto. That is what I would want to happen when I click run. I get whatever I get, but if I'm just looking at it, I think Dean Kramer is primed to give up a lot of power today.
I agree. So this is something Adam talks about also. So yeah, I would rather Toronto have more lefties in their lineup, obviously, but they're much stronger from the right side of the plate. Yeah. So it's a boost to their lefties, which is the weak part of their lineup. Kiermaier especially, he's their number 9 hitter for a reason. Varsho hasn't been great this year. Brandon Belt's solid hitting in the middle of that lineup. You get a boost to those guys. And Adam points this out all the time. Yeah, Kramer's been better against righties, as you mentioned, not great. And his numbers, I'm sure, would not be looking even close to what they are if all the righties he were facing were Bichette, Vlad, Chapman, Springer. I mean, it's still a really good lineup. The Jays are a lot like the Padres to me. They're like the AL version of the Padres, where they're uber talented. They never seem to quite put it together, but on any given day, their upside is about as high as any other team in the league.
Do you see yourself getting to any Baltimore on the opposite side of Gausman? Because I have a small amount because it's 150. I can't imagine getting to them in anything small.
It's just not how I play. Like, I think they're low on the board. That said, like, if there was a time to do it, I mean, Baltimore is the type of offense I like using when they're really low owned. I'm not going to pick on Gausman personally.
No complaints. I don't have anything else to add. I do think they're a little under-owned for just a 6-game slate. Less than 4% in the aggregate feels a little light, but
they run and they have power.
Yeah. There's a lot of there's just as much power in this Baltimore lineup today than there is in the Toronto lineup, in my opinion. They don't have the same, like, it's not Vlad type stuff. Although I guess Santander and Gunnar Henderson aren't all that far off at this point of Vlad. It's not
their lineup's better than Toronto's.
Yeah. At the very least, they're equals to me. They just happen to have Dean Kramer going instead of Kevin Gausman.
A big thing for me, and I haven't looked deep in the numbers, but I'm sure this is backed up in the numbers. George Springer has really fallen off. If he were the Astros Springer, I think this lineup is elite.
It's true. Yeah, he is not the same guy he used to be. That's for sure.
He doesn't even really run anymore. He doesn't hit for a ton of power. Like, he is mid now.
Anything else for Baltimore and Toronto?
Nah, not for me. I like Toronto a lot. We see that eye to eye.
All righty. Well, this will be easy then. Let's first hit the like button if you haven't done that yet. That's always going to help us out on these shows. Second, schedule for the rest of the day. It's not just MLB Live before lock, folks, because we do have that coming up at 6 p.m. They'll take you all the way to 7. Good times all around for this 6-game slate. But the final event of the PGA season is upon us. PGA Live before lock coming up tonight, 8 p.m. You do not want to miss that one as they close out this golf season. I mean, obviously, golf goes away for like 3 weeks and then is immediately back with all those generic events all over the place. Can't wait. Love golf. Love golf. Love playing golf more now than I did a couple years ago. Might have to start doing some golf content. Ben Raza, hit me up if you want to do that. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. You could also just sign up at BetMGM. That link is going to be in the description. You are going to get up to $1,000 in bonus bets after your first bet. If it loses, that is. If it wins, everything just moves on. But if you put $1,000 down on your first bet and it loses, you'll get that $1,000 back in bonus bets. You don't have to go all the way up to $1,000. You can do it $500, $200, even if you only have $50, even if you have $10. You do that, you'll get that back in bonus bets if it loses. Again, you got to be 21 or over. 1-800-GAMBLER is the number you call. If things aren't going great for you in the gambling space, click the link for BetMGM in the description. Ooh, I have not opened up have you opened up your chest yet on DraftKings?
I have. I mean, I actually got something better than I normally have, but nothing great. I got 40K today.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah. I think it's the first time I've gotten 30 a couple times, never 40.
Yeah. No, 20 for me today.
Yeah. Usually mine too. I mean, 4 out of every 5 times it's 20. I even think about it during the week. I'm sure everyone does. And it's like the most stupid thing because it's always basically the same.
Yeah. It's annoying for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Are we ready to move on to game number 2?
Yeah, I'm really excited to get your take on this one.
All right. Yankees and Nats. Oh, God, I hate this so much. I hate it so much. Luis Severino, 4.6 run implied total for the Yanks. Severino on the hill. Mackenzie Gore going for the Nats. 3.9 run implied total. Luis Severino today, 5,400. He is 26% owned. Let's have the conversation right now. Do I think he is over-owned? Yes, I do. Do I have 37% of Luis Severino right now? Yes, I do. I can't imagine you like him. Is there something you're seeing that I'm not seeing?
Like is a relative word, right?
Okay.
Like, of course, I don't like him as like an overall starting pitcher right now in baseball. But given the context of the slate, I think he like is definitely on the short list of pitchers to use. You're not looking at the numbers this year, like getting inspired by anything. He's been, at maybe Adam Wainwright level bad with like more power given up, but more strikeout upside. So you at least get that. Not that he's striking out a ton of guys. There's still some pedigree there. So, I mean, I don't want to like lie back on that, but he's been really good in the past. He's been awful this year. He showed some signs in his last start. It was against the Braves. So he ended up giving up a few home runs, but again, it was against the Braves. Can Washington take advantage of his bad spots, his mistakes? I'm not so sure. This is not a team with a ton of lefty power. They don't strike out a lot, but at 5,400, like you don't even need him to strike out that many guys. It's a price play. It's a matchup play. They only have a 3.9 implied total on the slate. That's why he's getting love. Just looking at that is why. I mean, he'll get ownership based on that and that alone. So I get it. I'm right there. It goes back to what I said at the beginning. There's just really not two pitchers on this slate I want to roster. So at that point, why not spend down? I'm a little bit worried about, Washington getting to him because it is Severino. But then again, it's Washington. So this could play out a lot of ways. I am surprised that Washington's not getting more love because people seem to really want to pick on Severino right now.
8 straight starts with at least 1 home run allowed, sometimes even 2. 2.6 home runs per 9 allowed for all of this season. He's walking 4 guys per 9 innings. He's got an xFIP of 5.14, a regular FIP of 680. Everything seems to be going not well for Luis Severino. But the piece that I'm more interested in is this. He's getting 26% ownership. And he's got a strikeout prop at FanDuel Sportsbook of 4.5, slight juice to the over. I think that all makes sense. I don't think there's anything all that crazy there. But I think he is being over-projected for playing time across the industry, and that is making him slightly more owned than he should be. 4 innings against the Braves in his most recent start. He had the non-start 2 innings prior to that. Before that, 4 innings, 3 1/3. Then you get into that 5 2/3 and 6 inning starts against the Angels and the Royals. Basically, like the only 2 times that he's been good. He has only seen the 5th inning twice since the end of June. I think he's just expected to go too deep in this. Like, if you just look at his 14 starts, he's thrown 65 2/3 innings. That's 4 2/3 innings per game. There are projection systems out there today for Luis Severino projecting him to get 18 outs today. That's 6 full innings. I don't see any scenario where you can project Luis Severino for 6 innings unless you're projecting everybody for 6 innings. So if that's the case, I think he's just overprojected in the industry.
I'll push back on that a little bit. Like, I get it.
Hit me.
The numbers say you're right. But in all those starts you're talking about, and you mentioned it, he's been bad. So the industry is projecting him to pitch well today, given the 3.9 implied total, given the Washington lineup. It's not a matter of pitches thrown. Like, if he's pitching well, he's proven they'll pitch him. I mean, they're not looking to bring him out of the game. If he's pitching well, he will go deeper into this game. I don't expect him to go 6 innings or anything like that, but I don't think 5 innings is crazy. If you expect him to pitch well, and if you don't expect him to pitch well, then don't use him.
I just don't understand how you could expect him to pitch well. 312 ISO to lefties, 254 X ISO.
That's a whole nother question.
A 462 WOBA to lefties so far this year. It's 388 to righties. It's still 360 if you use X WOBA. It's 220 X ISO to righties. I don't think we have any reason to suspect he should be good. To me, 6 innings is insane. You take him down to 5 innings, and I think he's a much more reasonable value option for today. Because it's not like 4.5 strikeouts. It's not like he's that kind of guy either. And this isn't that great of a strikeout matchup against the Nats. That said, I'm also getting to Luis Severino. For everything that I've just said about how I want to talk everybody out of this, He's kind of like the best guy you can get to at the bottom, and there's a reason he's getting that ownership. It's disgusting.
It's like one of those things where, who else are you using if you don't use Severino? I mean, our projections have him like these two pitchers pitched earlier today, right in between Lorenzen and Cobb, as far as like just points go. Slightly behind Mackenzie Gore, like less than a point behind Skubal and Sale. I mean, I agree with you. I'm not sure exactly what is inspiring anything to expect him to pitch well.
Yeah.
But that is the case, and why I think he's projected to go a little bit farther than maybe you'd like to see. And that said, I'm kind of buying it. And I hate to say that because everything about this screams Washington to me.
Does anything scream Mackenzie Gore to you? 7,400 here, only 13% owned. I'm actually over on Gore as well. I do think 13% isn't too crazy. I think he should probably be a couple percentage points higher. I mean, we have him 17% top 2 pitcher, and then we're factoring in value. I think he's a little underrepresented.
He's definitely underrepresented. He's a big, like, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde guy, though. So, like, he's better than Grayson Rodriguez before he got sent down, but he's in a similar vein in that he pitches really well often. He can also get lit up and give up a ton of home runs. So I like the Yankees against him. But on this slate, I'm also surprised Mackenzie Gore's not getting more ownership. The Yankees stink. He's got a nice strikeout percentage. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I do like him here. I like the Yankee side more because I think they have real power upside here. But, on paper, I think Gore looks really good in tournaments tonight.
5.5 strikeout prop for Gore, minus 150 to the over. I'm over the field on Mackenzie Gore, and I have him projected for 5.2. So I might even be more underrepresenting Mackenzie Gore for today. What do we do here with the bats, though? Do you want the Nats bats against Severino? Do you want Yankees bats against Mackenzie Gore?
I want Yankees bats against Gore.
Sure.
Peeved that their ownership is there. It's like, why is the ownership's there? I'm asking why, but also answering in the same breath. Because people are really enticed by the right-handed power. And I get it. I am here as well. Gore is a really high strikeout pitcher, but also gives up a lot of power. This is a good spot for the Yankees. Great park for home runs. I like them here. The ownership's there. It's not like they're going to be overwhelming chalk. I'm not worried about it. I wish they were coming in lower owned. And I'm sure you'll see the bottom of this lineup come in with a lot less than the top guys. So there is that to like. From a tournament perspective, Washington does also look good. I'm surprised they're low on the top stack tool just because it's Severino, but then it's Washington on the other side. We're coming into a lot of leverage, though. The highest leverage team on the slate outside of Cleveland. Like, Cleveland's facing Kershaw, Washington's facing Severino. The highest leverage team on the slate, should not be facing Severino. Makes me intrigued in Washington for sure. How about you?
I have some. I've got 8 5-man, so I'm basically neutral on Washington. Similar story for the Yankees. I've got 12 5-mans. I'm a little under in the aggregate, but I do have some representation of both sides. I just don't have a great feel for this game, so I'm kind of taking a bite out of everything. I think all 4 pieces of this one are in play to be, and no matter what happens, it's going to be obvious too. Like, Severino goes out and pitches well. It's like, oh, of course he's starting to get it back. Oh, Mackenzie Gore goes out. It's like, okay, yeah, that's fine. He had a big strikeout prop. Oh, Yankees went crazy. Of course they did. Lefty Gore, all this righty power. The Nats go crazy. It's like, yeah, well, Severino sucks. You see every path of it. It's annoying. It's really annoying.
I see this exactly the same as you. I thought that as soon as I looked at this game. So I'm with you 100%. If I were playing 150, I think I'd have to have all 4 sides.
Anything else for Yankees Nats?
No.
Guardians and Dodgers, 3.5 run implied total here for Cleveland, 5.1 for the Dodgers. Xavier Curry going for Cleveland. Clayton Kershaw going for the Dodgers. 16% ownership for Kershaw at 9,900. Now, it is not a great strikeout matchup against Cleveland. And Clayton Kershaw is getting up there in years, but 16% ownership, probably a little low. Do you like Kershaw? Is that a pay up option you're looking for? Or would you rather pay more for Gausman? Would you rather pay a little bit less for Charlie Morton?
I'd rather pay more for Gausman. I would rather use Kershaw than Morton. Okay. But I'm still like, it's not an elite spot for sure against Cleveland. Now, it is a better spot than it had been for a lot of the season just because of the changes in the Cleveland lineup. Laureano hitting third now strikes out. Oscar Gonzalez strikes out. Eric Haas, who they just picked up, strikes out. So, Gabriel Arias strikes out. They've got strikeouts in their lineup now. So Kershaw isn't like an X out like he might have been, 2 months ago. That said, I just don't trust the pitch count here. They're not going to let him go. They're not going to overextend him. I don't know what that number is, but they're not going to overextend him. At that price, I'd rather just get to Gausman. Kershaw's probably safer, though, with tiny bit less strikeout upside, but, I feel more comfortable about Kershaw getting the win here.
I have 11% of Kershaw. I think it's fascinating to see. He's got a 4.5 strikeout prop, and that's where I'm at.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Look, Stephen Kwan, 11% K rate via steamer. Jose Ramirez, 11% K rate via steamer. I mean, the first two guys that he's going to face are just not guys that regularly strike out. That makes it so much more difficult for him. So I get it from that regard. I have a little bit, not too much. Not going to be a guy that I get to a lot. I don't really have a lot of Gausman. I don't really have a lot of Morton. I'm just kind of casting. Any one of those guys can just show up in a lineup, and I think I'm okay with it. I don't get the sense you're going to Curry.
Nah, I mean, no way going to Curry. I'm not using pitchers against the Dodgers unless it's like a weird spot or something like that.
Okay. Then let's talk Dodgers bats. Number 2 in top stack, number 7 in value, but second in ownership, 14% in the aggregate. I have no disagreements with their ranking. They are one of the better offenses you can get to, but this is a park that limits power to a pretty big degree. 87 park factor, 2 righties. It's not totally what you're looking for. Curry has had success against lefties. Lefties don't hit him at all. 136 x ISO across 516 pitches. It's righties that are the real problematic issue for Curry. 246 x ISO to righties and only a 13% K rate. So guys like Mookie Betts, Will Smith, that's basically it for the lineup that I have in right now. Mookie Betts and Will Smith, though, as righties, do stand out quite a bit. I'm very light on the Dodgers. I don't think that I'm going to get up to all of that ownership. I'm more likely to get to some of the Braves or potentially the Angels and Red Sox. What say you on the Dodgers?
I'm kind of with you, man. Like, it's hard to want to use the Dodgers over the Braves, except for the fact that I think that the Braves will be higher owned. The lineups are very, very comparable from 1 to 4. And then LA drops off big time, where Atlanta has one of the deepest lineups ever. So the top 4 guys look elite. Betts, Freeman, Smith, really expensive. You get a nice little discount on Muncy. Those guys look great. The bottom of their lineup looks good. They're not dirt cheap, and Rosario's like pricey. So I don't love that compared to the Braves. It's just hard for me to want to go to them over the Braves. That said, these 2 teams are the top 2 stacks on the board. The ownership's there. I expect them to be the highest 2 owned teams on the slate.
I have a very small amount of the Guardians, enough to make myself neutral, 4%. They're incredibly cheap. It's $5,500 Jose Ramirez, and then you get to $3,500 Stephen Kwan. They are completely free. But this park and Kershaw, I don't really love the idea of getting to Cleveland. So it'll just be scattered amounts of the Guardians because this is just not that spot.
I agree.
Well, folks, we are at the halfway point. Only 6 games tonight, so we're going to be able to move through this one pretty easily. So now is the perfect opportunity to talk about Caesars. There is a link in the description. You could also look at the banner at the top of the screen. Here's the deal for Caesars. You need to be in a legal betting state. You need to be new to Caesars. After that, sign up, bet $50. That seems pretty easy. The moment you do that, you will unlock $250 in bonus bets. Now, they will give you 50 of it immediately. You're going to get another 50 every Monday for the next 4 weeks. It's a slow trickle for you. You can't blow it all in one place. If you don't use that 50 in a particular week, it disappears. So don't leave it hanging out there. Make sure you're putting down at least 50 each week with this bonus bets. It's a fantastic deal for you to build up a little bit more of a bankroll. I tell you this every single day. It is important to take advantage of this deal. Take advantage of every other deal. Get all the free money you can, and then figure it out after you've cleared those bonuses. It's always going to be better to take the free money when you can. Now, you got to be 21 or over. If you got a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Click that link in the description, folks. Sign up at Caesars. This deal isn't sticking around very long. Get it now while you can. I hope it exists in January when I can sports bet.
Amen.
5.7 run implied total for my Atlanta Braves, 4.2 for the Mets. Charlie Morton going for Atlanta. Jose Quintana going for New York. 24% ownership coming in to Morton. He is 9K. Now, there are not a lot of strikeouts in this Mets lineup, but we do have Charlie Morton, 23% to be a top 2 pitcher. Didn't sound like you liked Morton all that much before. Did I read that correctly?
You read that exactly right. Like, I think he's fine, especially given the slate. He's kind of in a price tier all his own, and I'd rather get up to Gausman. I think Detmers looks better, price cheaper. So no Morton for me. He's also been very hit or miss, and I almost feel like it doesn't really matter the matchup. It's whether he has his stuff. He's older now. The Mets don't strike out a lot, so it's not like a perfect spot. He does rate out pretty good in our tools, though. So, like, I wouldn't fault anyone for using him. It's just not for me.
I have 11%. We got him projected for 24. This is the guy that I'm probably most under the field on of all of the major guys. I mean, I guess Gausman to a degree, but I have more Gausman, so it doesn't look as so crazy. Quintana on the opposite side, 7,100. Obviously, terrible spot against that. Anytime you face Atlanta, you are not where you want to be. But he's 7,100, and he is unowned. Is it viable?
It's definitely viable. It's not like I don't think I'll use him, and I don't, I wouldn't like recommend it saying he's like the best play on the slate, but it's definitely viable on this slate. I mean, our tools say it all. He's a little bit below, a couple percentage points lower than Urquidy as far as top 2 pitcher goes. Urquidy's getting 18 times more percent. So that alone, makes him viable. Even a guy like Kramer getting 12% more ownership. Quintana is a guy that doesn't strike out a lot of guys, but he's, been a good pitcher in his career. He's been pretty good lately. He hasn't allowed much power. This is all just, saying why Quintana is viable. Not like that Atlanta isn't the best stack like they are every night. But just to answer your question, yeah, I think he's viable.
I've got 7%. I think I'm pretty happy with that. I'd like to have something around 10 if he's unowned, because he just doesn't get hit all that hard. And if we could just get Quintana out there to be and just keep the ball in the yard for his start, like, that's going to be valuable on a 6-gamer. You don't need 35 fantasy points. Like, generally speaking, you don't need 35 pitching points on a day like today. He can get by with like a perfectly pedestrian 15 or something, and you're going to feel okay about it at a minimum today. If he keeps the ball in the yard, I think he could be okay. And he hasn't really gotten hit all that hard so far. So not a guy I'm taking a big stand on, but at 0 ownership, if you can get to 10, if you're playing, 150 lineups, I'm okay with it. Atlanta Braves are the number 1 stack in our top stack pool. They are the number 1 team in ownership at 14.5% in the aggregate. I have 8 5-man stacks. I'm under the field overall. I still have Acuna filling out some lineups. We have Kevin Pillar hitting second. That's probably going to be a pinch hit situation later on in the game, if I had to guess. What do you do with the Atlanta Braves today? Is it Braves season? Was it Dodgers season? What do we do here?
I mean, it's almost rinse and repeat from every other night.
Yep.
Atlanta looks like the best stack on the board just because it's Atlanta. Quintana is not the worst pitcher in the world, but I mean, he's certainly an underdog in this spot against this lethal Atlanta lineup. Not as lethal as it would be with Albies in there, especially against a lefty. So I personally think, and it's been like this, the ownership for Atlanta, we saw it with Seattle today, and like the higher dollar stuff is going to be just really, really high. I prefer the Blue Jays, who we talked about, the Yankees. I think hopefully, I'm hoping their ownership maybe lessens a little bit. Atlanta looks great here. It's really tough to just fade them, especially a guy like Acuna, who not only has so much power, but he runs like every time he's on base. So as a one-off in a stack, I mean, he's the, not considering price, the best hitter on any DFS slate he's on at this point. Right now in the year 2023, he's that guy. So he would be my one priority that I'd want to get to. As a full stack like Pillar, I get it. I think his ownership is going to be really high, and there's a ton of pinch hit risk there, like you said. I'd much rather use him in a stack if I were doing it. It's the same thing as it's been every other day against maybe a slightly better pitcher. If you want to get to Atlanta, do it. They look great here. Like I said, though, Quintana's solid, and there's other offenses at lower ownership I like slightly more.
Yeah, so most of what I have of Atlanta is one-offs. Like, I have 19% of Ronald Acuna outside of Braves stacks. Works for me. Same thing we sort of talked about yesterday. He's just going to show up with a decent enough day, and that's all I'm really looking for. 6,800, but I mean, this is a guy that just goes out there and hangs fantasy points. What about the Mets? Against Charlie Morton, he's 24, but he's in a quarter of the lineups at this point in time. There's certainly some power in the Mets lineup. 4.2 run implied total is not ideal, but it's not, sub 4 like some of the teams that are here. 6th in ownership, 7th in top stack. You getting to any Mets? I'm about neutral.
I don't think I'll get to any Mets, but on a tournament, given a tournament perspective, I do like them more than Morton. They have power upside. They don't strike out. Our tools like the Mets, more than I thought they would, all things considered. They have a higher top stack percentage than the Nationals against Luis Severino, and they're facing Charlie Morton. So that speaks volumes. Their ownership isn't going to be high at all. The biggest problem with the Mets for me is the bottom half of their lineup falls off so hard. The top guys look really good, and then it just really gets bad. So I like using the top guys as leverage pieces, but it's not a stack I'm prioritizing right now. No.
Yeah. Nimmo.
They're on the outskirts, though. They're on the outskirts for me.
No, I get it. Oh, this is another game where I don't know what I want to happen because I don't have a ton of much of it. There's a lot more ownership in this game than I really have other than Quintana.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I don't know exactly what I want either. And I guess the one thing I'm worried about with obviously you're worried about with Quintana. He doesn't give up a ton of power. No. He also doesn't face the Braves, every start.
Yeah. I think they transcended a little bit, but this isn't the same.
Yes.
This is not the same Braves lineup.
No.
Kevin Pillar is in this lineup. You don't have Ozzie Albies in this lineup. I mean, Sean Murphy obviously has a lot of power. That's not going to be an issue. I'm just working my way down here. Vaughn Grissom is a guy, I guess.
No, I think you said it actually perfectly. This lineup, when they're whole, transcends basically any matchup. So a guy like Quintana, you're not worried about. But Quintana's decent, and their lineup today isn't their A lineup by any means.
No, it is not. Ooh, this is a weird game. I have basically neutral amounts of the Mets and Braves. I don't really know what I want to come out of that I guess I prefer the Mets to the Braves because I'm just going to have less overall stacks, but I guess more than anything, I'm just kind of cheering against. I want some early Mets runs to end Charlie Morton. That's the path to me being better off.
Oh, that just reminds me of the showdown slate that they did on Saturday. It was Phillies versus the Nationals. I don't play much baseball showdown at all, but again, it was the free contest.
Yeah.
I faded Wheeler, 80% owned. I used all Philly bats with one or two Nats bats. And Wheeler gave up 5 straight hits to start the game. It was 4-0 Washington, all singles. So it wasn't like the Washington bats did great, but Wheeler was awful. I mean, 5 straight hits, 4 runs for an 80% owned Wheeler. Trevor Williams proceeded to shut out Philly, and Wheeler retired the next 17 guys he faced. So that dream ended quickly.
That's always the best. You can't beat that.
I
don't mess around with Showdown at all, but I might have to start soon enough.
Showdown is too tilting for me. Even football, I hate that one play changes so much stuff. And I get it. When you're multi-entering, doesn't really matter what you're rooting for. But I hate, even if you just make one lineup, you don't even know what the hell you're rooting for because you want your guys to do well, but not as good as the captains. It's just a shit show for me.
Basketball is great for it just because you have that slow trickle throughout everything. It's not like somebody makes a 40-point shot in the fourth quarter and all of a sudden goes from uninteresting
completely
to not
agree.
Interesting. Yeah, at least with that one, you're usually fine barring a blowout. The
swings aren't as high.
Yeah, exactly.
Because in baseball, a home run is everything, and in football, a touchdown is everything.
Right, and if that home run comes in the 9th, you could be flipping the entire standings.
In this contest that I played, I did not use Jake Cave because, like I said, I used all the expensive Philly hitters. I didn't use Wheeler. 2 outs in the 9th, 3-0 game, 60% Jake Cave homers. 2 guys, I can't remember who they were winning, splitting 100K. They moved right into bottom of the cash, and a couple other guys just took down the 100K. That's crazy.
Anything else for Braves Mets?
Not for me, no.
Chris Williams hit us with the 5 gifted subs and the sub message, just showing some love on my birthday. Happy birthday, Chris Williams. Good to see. Always throwing out the gifted subs, so we're very happy to see it. Hope you're having a good birthday, man. coming to an end soon. Although if you're on the West, I guess you're on the West Coast, so you got a little bit more time left.
Happy birthday, man.
Josh Feinberg on FanDuel. Is it right for top stacks for Colorado and Tampa Bay?
I looked at that. I think Colorado and Tampa are just switched accidentally. Like Tampa, the logos basically are just switched.
Oh, he's not asking if Colorado and Tampa are top stacks. Is there something wrong with the top stacks?
No. Yes. So in the top stack pool for FanDuel, Colorado's third behind LA and Tampa's last. Tampa's facing Austin Gomber. Colorado, who stinks, is facing Savali. They should just be switched. At least that's how I'm looking at it.
Okay.
Like the ownership. Have you looked at it? Sorry. Go ahead.
I'm gonna drop it into chat so I can get it fixed.
I mean, the ownership and everything, like they have Tampa right now projected to be 11.7% owned, which makes sense. They have Colorado, projected to be 1.9% owned, which makes sense. They just have Colorado with a 12% top stack and Tampa with a 2% top stack. Those should be switched.
I just dropped a note into our data team, so they should be getting to that in the near future. We'll have that up. We'll have that updated long before lock. All right, Astros and Red Sox. Neutral game. 4.4 run implied total across both sides. This is a coin flip matchup. Jose Urquidy going for Houston. Chris Sale going for Boston. 19% ownership coming into Urquidy at 6,300 here against the Red Sox. We have an 11% top two pitcher, 19% top two value. Probably a hair over-owned. Is Urquidy a guy that you have your eye on?
Not really. I think I like Severino more than Urquidy, just straight up for points. I don't trust how long Urquidy's going to pitch in this game. He was out for a while, he threw 60 pitches, then 80, then he only threw 30 pitches. He wasn't pitching well, so they're not going to overextend him either. Really tough spot against Boston. They don't strike out. They're good. No thanks on Urquidy.
Yeah, 19% ownership is a big number. Jose Urquidy this year has been fine from a lefty power perspective. Expected, actualized has been an issue. A similar story for righties. He's just all over the map. And like if you add in last year, instead of just that relatively small sample, he gives up a bunch of power against this Boston team. He's a wild. I have both sides of this one. I'm neutral to Urquidy, but I've got a pretty sizable stand on Boston, and I feel good there. What do we do with $8,500 Chris Sale? Are there enough strikeouts here? Because Houston is not a team that Ks at all. I thought $8,500 Chris Sale might stand out today, but I don't really love this spot.
I don't either. I rarely use pitchers against the Astros, lefties nonetheless. Sale is another guy. If he's on, he can strike out anyone. But we've seen it with him. They're going to really treat him with kids' gloves because he's hurt a ton. They're not going to talk about guys that aren't going to be overextended. That's Chris Sale. Maybe he gets enough strikeouts while he's in there. I think there's just as likely a chance Houston gets to him, though. So Sale's, not a guy I'm looking at that price point. He just kind of, I would use Morton over Sale.
Same. I have 6%. That's about where I think he should be. I don't think he's going to go deep enough into the game, just if we're looking at it like that. Two, I'm a little worried about all the righty power here for Houston against the lefty and Sale. He's given it up in the past. I don't know what he is right now any longer. I mean, the strike, like he could go out there and mow people down. He has that. He's always had that kind of stuff in his arm. Whether or not that actually still exists in this spot, I'm not confident.
Same.
What's his strikeout prop? Strikeout prop for Sale, 5.5, minus 132 6. To the under.
Okay, I was going to say 6, so okay. A little bit lower than I thought.
Yeah, I got him at 4.6. Seems like 5 is probably around where that number should be. Yeah, not all that interesting. The Red Sox are 4th in top stack, 5th in ownership. This is a team that I'm getting to. This is the second most exposed. No, this is actually my most exposed team, just ahead of the Jays. 26 5-mans, 15% in the aggregate, more Rafael Devers than anything else. So I at least do think that everything that I'm doing is happening correctly because a $5,600 Devers looks fantastic. Do you like Boston against Urquidy?
I do like Boston here. Them, the Yankees, the Blue Jays, I think are my top 3 tournament stacks on the board. This lineup looks really good today, peppered with lefties, and it's deepened a little bit. You've got Wilyer Abreu hitting 7th for them. And yeah, hopefully I pronounced that right. Guys, 2K was absolutely raking in the minors, hitting like 430 in August. Big power. think he played yesterday and had at least one hit. So he deepens the lineup. He makes it cheaper. I think he looks great as a one-off in a Boston stack. The Boston side is easily my favorite side of this game.
Glad we're on the same page. That makes me feel pretty good. Remember when I said I hope Schwarber homers? Well, he did homer.
Does it matter at this point?
And then Turner followed it up with a homer. I mean, unless one of these teams go absolutely insane, it's not going to matter to me.
Same. Reagan's had 11 Ks last time I checked.
11 Ks, 18 ounce, 34 fantasy points. And by
and
all accounts, should probably get the win. So just shy of 40. The winning lineup on DraftKings right now, whether it holds or not, who knows, 174 points. And it's got the 6.5 from Ohtani as the low score.
Popular is the only reason why. See, that's why people ask. Like, I hate when people ask questions like, or say statements like, I can't believe this guy was like in the winning lineup or like blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, because 50% of the field played him.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Math.
Yeah, it's just math. It's a really good lineup. It's going to be really hard to run that down without having like not Ohtani, I guess.
Milwaukee stack?
I just closed it, but I believe so. I remember seeing Willy Adames' name at the very least.
Makes sense.
All right, Astros bats here against Chris Sale. I mean, it's a sea of righties other than I almost call him Chris Tucker, other than Kyle Tucker. They're 10th in top stack and 8th in ownership. I have a couple. I'm pretty neutral. It's mostly the top of the order. Do you want to get to Houston against Sale?
I do like Houston against lefties. I think it's an interesting tournament spot. If I were playing 150, they're 6% owned right now. I'd probably be double the field there. Not sure it's a team I'm going to play in like higher dollar stuff because I do respect Sale. That said, even without Alvarez, like I like their lineups. The top 7 look good. Tucker is always mass lefty, so not worried to him in the same side in this matchup. McCormick is actually having a really, really good year, hitting cleanup tonight. You've got a great catcher option. Jose Abreu is back, been good against lefties his whole career, despite, not really being good anymore. Jeremy Pena, shortstop, hitting 7th. I think Houston looks like a proverbial tournament stack with high upside.
I wish I had a little bit more because there's just so much power there. But if this is the spot that I don't have, like it's just going to have to be the case for today.
You asked me yesterday, like what team was I afraid not to get? And I said Houston, and I think it's both these teams tonight.
Yeah, I think that's fair. 565 viewers, 94 likes. That is unacceptable, folks. We need to be up over 100. I do not like when that number only has 2 digits. Now, before we go any further, got to close it out with one final thing. You guys should sign up for the Sims tool. If you have the money, that is, our MLB Sims tool, fantastic product. It's going to be $180 a month. You are going to be getting the goods. You create a giant pool of lineups. You import them into the Sims tool. They simulate those lineups against each other. You end up getting ROI information for individual players, for each type of stacks, every single one of the lineups. You are just going to put together a significantly more efficient package of lineups for whatever contest you're getting into. If you're a max entry player or you're looking to step your game up a little bit, MLB Sims tool is exactly what you're looking for. Please click that link in the description. If that sounds outlandish to you, you can get 50% off our MLB Premium Weekly Package. That's going to get you projections, ownership, top stacks, top pitchers, top batters, the lineup generator, which is well worth the price of admission, and our premium Discord. You get all of that for a week for less than $10. You will not find a better deal elsewhere. If you hate it during that time, cancel, bail. You're only out $9 and change. I think you're going to really like the lineup generator. If the Sims tool is outside of what you're looking for, the lineup generator is like the lighter version of that. We're handling all the simulations on the back end. We present the lineups then to you. Lots of customizations, chalky builds, contrarian builds, balance builds, lock players, swap players, pick your stacks, export up to 20 via CSV. One of those 2 tools are made for you. Figure out which one it is by clicking the links in the description. And now we close it out with a game that honestly we can barely talk about. And it's probably going to be really wonky. We're not going to get that lineup before lock. Every bit of this is just going to be a pain in the ass, especially because Shohei Ohtani left the first game as a pitcher and as a hitter. So I'm going to assume that he doesn't play, and having 25% of him like I do right now will not be something that I do. Anyway, 5-run implied total for the Angels. Reed Detmers on the hill. He is 7,600 and not even close to the most popular pitcher on today's slate. Brett Kennedy going for the Reds. He is 6,100 and significantly less owned than Reed Detmers. I think Detmers is the best pitcher on today's slate. 7,600 is an absolutely wacky price tag for him. I don't know why that is the case for today. It doesn't make any bit of sense. Has he had some problems against lefties with a power perspective? Yeah, he has. He's got a 30% K rate against righties this year across 1,600 pitches. This is a guy that can absolutely hang a massive, massive strikeout day on the entire league. He can go out there and do really crazy things. Now, we don't even have, technically, I guess it's not Brett Kennedy yet officially. We don't have a starter, but we're assuming it's Brett Kennedy. What do you do with Detmers?
I think you just play Detmers here. He's certainly on the short list for me with Gausman and, as ugly as it is, Severino. The tools love him. So is he the safest pitcher in the world? No. The matchup's really good, though, since he strikes out. Another thing I like a little bit more about Detmers, you mentioned Ohtani leaving the game. A little bit less bullpen leash for them. I know Tyler Anderson came in, but I'm sure they're going to have to use a couple other guys to finish off this game. If Detmers is pitching well, it gives him like a little bit longer leash. His price tag just stands out on a slate with not good options. Again, it's not the safest spot in the world. He's not impervious to getting hit, but he's too cheap. Our tools love him. I mean, he is right there. The difference between him and Gausman is far smaller than the difference between him and Morton in our top pitcher tool. This is one I think you just trust the tools and play him.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, we have a 29% chance of Reed Detmers being a top 2 pitcher. That number for Kevin Gausman is 31%. That number has nothing to do with salary. I want to be clear here. A top 2 pitcher is just scoring, and he is essentially projected to score like Kevin Gausman. Only Kevin Gausman's 10,600 and Reed Detmers is 7,600. You're saving $3,000 for the same pitcher today. It's easy.
Can't ignore the tools here. Can't ignore the numbers. Can't ignore the price tag. I mean, ultimately, DFS is a game of salaries. In baseball, it is different because, hitters, just the variance is so wide. But on this slate, only 6 games, I think Detmers, like you said, I mean, he's second right behind Gausman. I mean, it's close as far as just being a top 2 pitcher on the slate. That's all you need to know. Yeah.
And then you see the value, and it's like Gausman's 9 and Detmers is 26%. Right. He looks fantastic. Absolutely. I have 40+%. I'll have around half the field, or he'll be in half my lineups. It's too good of a spot. I also have a little bit of Brett Kennedy. I'm not going to lie. I don't like it. I don't want to have it. He's 6,100. He projects like shit. 15% K rate, 8% walk rate. It's just the lack of ownership. I hope it goes away when I run my final crunch. Please don't listen to me about playing Brett Kennedy. There are no redeeming qualities about this spot other than it is a 6-game slate, and sometimes you need to save some salary, and sometimes you just don't want to play a 26% owned Luis Severino, so you pick anyone else but him. That's what I think is happening for me for Brett Kennedy. That's not what's happening for Reed Detmers. Any Kennedy thoughts?
Yeah, so maybe I just want to get your take on this. So they called up Lyon Richardson to be like their 27th man. Okay. I'm seeing that there's a very good chance he's going to pitch the bulk of this game behind Kennedy.
Okay. If that is the case, when I rerun my stuff in 40 minutes, then I will not have Kennedy.
Yeah, I didn't think so, especially because Kennedy is not 4K. If you were 4K, that would change things, but he's 6K. So unless it's confirmed that he's starting and has a starter's workload, I'm personally not interested. I would love it, though, as a pivot to Severino, if that did get confirmed.
Yeah, and Lyon Richardson, by the way, last appearance for the AAA team, August 17th, so he is ready to go. But he's only been throwing 3 innings per start. 3 2/3, 3 1/3, 3 3 3 3 3 4 4 4 before that. But this, it seems like they are limiting him to about 3 innings. So if he's going, you might see 3 innings of Brett Kennedy, 3 innings of Lyon Richardson.
Agreed. He pitched. They called him up one other time at the beginning of August. He pitched 3 innings, 66 pitches. I think that's what you can expect if he bit. You know what? Talking this out, that's kind of what I expect. I expect him and Kennedy to kind of split the game.
And I think what we're saying right there, if that's the case, and it seems like that's the case, if that's what's happening today, I think you probably need to knock down the Kennedy innings projection by a little bit, because it's not as if Richardson. I don't think Richardson's going to get a ton of it, but it's definitely not going to be Kennedy going out there for 5.
I don't think so.
Doesn't seem that way, at least. Okay. Angels bats, 4th in ownership, 3rd in top stack, and 1st in value. Can we even talk about it right now? Like, there's no chance Ohtani's playing, right?
Like, what did he leave for? I guess that would be my question. I would be shocked if he played.
I don't know. Period pains at this
Arm
rate.
fatigue.
Yeah.
There's no way he's playing. I mean, I'd be shocked. Again, he's only a DH, so wouldn't be like the craziest thing in the world, but I don't expect him to play. They removed him from the early game. It's Ohtani. They're not going to do anything to like jeopardize his long-term health. I mean, it's just not going to happen.
I mean, maybe they will.
I'm like, it's such like a risky move for them though. Like, you know, him, I'm sure ultimately it's going to be his call. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Do you think Trout plays? Didn't play the first game? Okay. What do you like the Angels? I mean, I think they look really good today, but I think they're probably properly owned at this point too. Not having Ohtani will change the scope a bit.
Agreed. I think I definitely agree with you also. It's hard to talk about right now. We don't know if Ohtani's going to play. He probably won't. We don't know exactly what this lineup's going to look like. Presumably Chenault leading off. You know, they'll have the same guys in there probably scattered around with Ohtani out. They do look good here, just given the matchup. It's just hard to really like dive into them because we don't have the lineup. We're not going to get the lineup. That first game is only in the 6th inning.
Brutal. Okay. So I like the Angels. I'm hoping that I can figure out who's playing, but I do like the Angels. Do you like the Reds side of this one? They're 9th in top stack, 8th in top value, 9th in ownership. But there is a play here to just be on the opposite side of the Detmers ownership. I have 23 Reds 5-man stack. So while I have Detmers in half my lineups, I basically have the Reds in the other half.
That's the play, right? That's what is to like about the Reds is they're facing a really, really popular Reed Detmers. And Detmers, you know, he had a really good start last time out, but outside of that, he's gotten hit a little bit. So he can give up power. He really struggles like third time through lineup. So, you know, since he's got a lot of power, they're young and they strike out a lot. They're very hit or miss, but they have upside in the spot. So I get it. I will say though, like between them and Washington, I like Washington a little bit more. Like since he's better than them, but Detmers is considerably better than Severino.
I like where you're going there. Park is awesome too.
It's like I have an hour.
I think both of those plays look good on paper.
Same. And they're similar. And you know what? They actually like grade out very similar to me. When you look at it, like Washington's not as good as Cincinnati. They don't have as good of players. Cincinnati runs and they've got more, power upside. But then they're facing Reed Detmers and Washington's facing Severino. So it kind of evens it out. They both look the same in the grand scheme of things.
Anything else for Angels Reds?
No.
Well, here we are right at the top of the hour, 6 p.m. That's going to do it for the MLB Deeper Dive. Thank you, Matt Belman, for being here with me. Thank you to Michael Lawrence for being the producer extraordinaire behind the virtual glass. Thank you to Caesars for sponsoring. Sign up for the Sims tool. Sign up for the lineup generator. Sign up for every damn thing we offer you because all of it's giving you better odds of winning or free money. No tricks around these parts. Enjoy MLB Live Before Lock. Make sure you watch PGA Live Before Lock. And good luck tonight, everybody. We'll talk to you later.
Yo, it's that time of week again. Stochastic Hall of Fame. Time to induct all of you fine people into the Stochastic Hall of Fame. Give away some free months of Stochastic Plus Platinum. Well, $120 value there. And all you got to do to get involved in the action, get your free month, get here up on the board so we can do the bragging for you. Download the Stochastic Avatar at stochastic.com/avatar. Use it wherever it is you play. DraftKings, FanDuel, doesn't matter. And then finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. Doesn't matter if it's the quarter arcade, the dollar, or something big. Tweet your wins with the screenshot to us at Stochastic HOF. When you do, you'll get that free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. You're getting the Hall of Fame. Let's get to it for this week. Kicking it off with John Bryan. Took it home. Finally. Thank you guys for all that you do. $1,000. There you go. Solo shot. 1K to first. John taking it down with the Stochastic Avatar. And Colby Evans. Shout out to the man, Matt Gajeski. This is true. He's the preseason pioneer. We all know that. Matty G, your preseason projections are a must every single season. Find them over at stochastic.com, by the way. Thank you for your hard work and dedication to the deep dive that is the NFL preseason. There's still an edge. Congrats, Colby. You love to see it, man. $1,000. Little preseason win there. Hey, preseason money's pretty big right now. And then our own CEO, Tom Kennedy, $50,000 and $5,000 on the same day. MLB DFS comeback is complete. Quit playing MLB a few years back. Loved projections and game theory, but couldn't compete with the software guys and their sims. So we set out to level the field and elevate sports over software with stochastic sims. Never had so much fun playing DFS. Congrats, Tom. CEO taking down 55K. How about Ron? He's got a $1,000 win. Hall of Fame, baby. Lock me in. Also, rocking the stochastic avatar. See how easy this is? Congrats, Ron. Standing firm. Getting that bankroll for the NFL season. Great time to do so. Huge thanks to the lineup generator. Such an awesome tool. And then we've got our own Josh Engleman, the absolute best way to wake up. Fell asleep 15 minutes before the Muncie home run. This freak can fall asleep when he's sweating 50K. But Josh takes home 50K. Big shout out to our boy and my co-host, Josh Engleman. And Forrest, to close this one out, just snuck into the top 3 using the tools, $600 to TH, $1,800, $600 win in the four-seamer. Congrats to all of you guys. Remember, download the Stochastic profile picture at stochastic.com/avatar. Use it wherever it is you play. Tweet your wins to us at Stochastic HOF. Get that free month, $120 value. Get in the Hall of Fame, and we'll catch you back here next week for the next one. Peace.
Yeah, I'm good. But they usually do it for kids. They started kind of doing it for kids in school and whatever, but the West Coast teams love it. Yeah.
Welcome to Stochastic MLB Live Before Lock. I'm your host, Neil Orfield. You can find me on Twitter at PlayerQDFS. I'm here with my old pal, EMac, your old pal, EMac. You can find him on Twitter at EMacDFS. This show is, of course, produced by Mike Lawrence. You can find on Twitter at AwesomeYo, and sponsored by Caesars. We're going to talk about Caesars more later in the show. But of course, if you've watched our shows at all today, you know that they have a fantastic new deal. If sports betting is available in your state, there's no reason that you should not have signed up yet for Caesars. You can turn $50 into $250 in bonus bets. You just need to sign up, bet your $50 using our link, of course, and you'll get $250 in bonus bets, $50 at a time over 5 weeks. Fantastic deal. You're not going to find that too many places. So if you have not yet signed up for Caesars, make sure you do so. And if you have not yet hit that like button, please hit that like button. EMac, I know you're really good at telling people to hit the like button. I often forget, but I'm remembering right now. Please do hit the like button if you haven't already done so. And if you haven't already done so, please go on Twitter and wish our old friend Greg Ehrenberg a happy birthday.
EMac, how are you doing today? That why I'm filling in for him? I did not know.
He took a little vacation, yeah, and it's I'm pretty sure it's today. I think he said that today was the day. Maybe yesterday was his birthday. I could be wrong about which day was his birthday, but it is one of these days. He's taking time off for his birthday. So yeah, that is why we get the pleasure of doing a show together that is not on a Saturday morning.
I know this is rare, and Mike's here. It almost felt like I was on the High Stakes podcast again.
That's right. Yeah, the same trio back together. It's been a little while since we've all been together, and as Mike just reminded us, the last time that we all did a show together, Mike sent us a picture of himself in the shower. So that was great. Yeah. Maybe we'll get another one of those today.
Win-win situation there. Totally.
Yeah, absolutely. So EMac, have you had a chance to look closely at this slate?
So, I wrote the article this morning, covered both slates. So that was fun. Tonight, a little bit different. FanDuel is not including the second game of the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim as they take on the Cincinnati Reds. The other thing that you'll want to note is FanDuel locks at 640 because they've moved forward to capture that Tampa Bay Colorado game, which is a little bit different than what DraftKings and what FanDuel is doing. So that is the key to think about there. That means that you want to remember Aaron Savale in the is the kind of the cheaper pitcher to target, but you won't be able to join the masses with Reed Detmers unless you're going to play the DraftKings. And I want to say that on Yahoo, I think they're still starting at 7:05, but I believe they are skipping the second game of the doubleheader as well. I'll pull up Yahoo and check. I'm not playing on Yahoo today, just DK, since we're on air up until lock. But that is, if I remember correctly, there. Oh. And of course, I'm on my new computer, so it's going to make me do all these login things. Oh, no. So annoying. Or I say my new computer. I went down to Florida for 3 weeks, left my charger at home. So I had to use my work computer for 3 weeks.
Bummer. Okay. Yesterday, we actually got a question about Yahoo yesterday. One of the rare times that we get a Yahoo question. You're the guy for those questions because, I don't look at the Yahoo slate generally. I actually don't have any idea what kind of. I don't know that I've ever really played DFS, MLB DFS on Yahoo. I play NFL. I've played some NBA. I don't think I've ever played MLB on Yahoo. Do they run pretty big contests?
The key is they're almost always reduced rake, because they typically don't fill the main, and you've got to watch it because 2 or 3 days a week they actually will fill. But the other nice thing they do is and I'm giving you guys some good value away here. Yeah. They oftentimes do weird start times, or the other thing they'll do is they'll do smaller slates throughout the rest of the night, but their 8 o'clock slate will include everything through the end of the slate. Their 9 o'clock slate will include everything through the end of the slate. So it's a lot of fun. A lot of their stuff is 3 max or 7 max because the fields aren't that large, but a lot of times you're going to get them, 90% full. And you'll be playing a lot of the regulars there, but you're playing rake free or reduced rake most of the time. So it's rather helpful. So I enjoy playing over there. I like all the sports over there. Real wonky pricing. I wrote articles for years for all of their sports, so I kind of got used to it. But I have to sit there and look at it throughout the day. It's hard for me just to jump in and say, "Oh, I'm going to build a lineup now." I usually only play 1 or 2 lineups there, but then I put it across all formats. So.
Are you playing on both DraftKings and FanDuel tonight?
Just DraftKings. FanDuel, I did all the Dinger Tuesday. Had a nice little day there on. I did 14 home runs. I got 3 of them correct, and then I had $140 in the Dinger Tuesday promo. Ooh. So I ended up counting that. I netted about $250.
Very nice. Very nice.
I'll blow it right back tonight.
No, you'll increase it tonight. Hopefully, we'll see a little bit more. Well, so we usually start by talking about some pitchers. EMac. Mm-hmm. Oh man, we're getting rumor. Ocean says rumor is EMac and Neil's signatures are on the original Constitution. I prefer this one. Corey Balmer says EMac is Neil's dad. I prefer that one. People who are separating us by age, as opposed to the people who are like, oh yeah, those guys are the same age.
Technically, it's the Magna Carta. It wasn't even. It was, or was it the Mayflower Compact? I forget. It was a long time ago, though, Neil.
It was a very long time ago. Tough to remember. All right, let's talk about some pitchers on this slate. So we have at the top Kevin Gausman, kind of in a tier by himself, but let's do the tier of everybody 9,000 or more. So we have Gausman at 10,600, Charlie Morton at 9,000, and Clayton Kershaw at 9,900. Of those three, who's your favorite? Who do you think you might be overweight to the field on? And anybody that you're fading?
Let me get back to my. Oh man, Terry Funk passed away. That sucks.
I saw that. I don't know who that is, but I did see it.
He was a wrestler. If you guys ever saw Roadhouse, he was kind of the bouncer that got fired and got mad and then went to work for Brad Weston. So
okay,
there you go. Gausman is clearly going to be the number one pitcher. He is third, I think, in American League Cy Young, according to Odd Shopper this morning. He is plus 300, Garrett Cole's minus 180, Luis Castillo's plus 250. Gausman, of course, started his career in Baltimore. He moved on. I think it was Atlanta that he went to first. That was like back in 2018. So it's been a hot minute since he's been in Baltimore, but obviously it's his second year. I think it's his second year with Toronto. So he's been back as a visitor quite a few times in the American League East. The nice thing about him is he is first in the American League, second overall with strikeouts. He has 11.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, also 187 strikeouts on the year. So that is something that's always interesting. The thing you want to remember about his opponents tonight, the Orioles, they do a decent job. Not great, it's not like, oh my God, they're at 17%, but they do a pretty good job of limiting strikeouts. Of course, you're a lot of times playing with fire when you take on the Orioles because they have a lot of talent, and their talent is more experienced than what we're seeing with the Pirates and some of the other teams. So their projected lineup tonight, it does have a 22% strikeout rate against righties. This season, if we add in last season, it drops down to 20.5. So they have, Gunnar Henderson, Ryan Mountcastle, Ryan O'Hearn. They're the ones that strike out above average, and Ramon Urias are as well. So for me, Gausman is going to be number one. I think you pair him with Detmers on DK for your cash game lineups. That's what I'm doing tonight. Because I'm on air, I'm only doing a couple single entry 50-50s tonight, just because if I don't get my lineups in, I don't want to burn money. So I'm playing a little lighter there, but I've been playing a lot more on DK for that. So that's a lot of fun. If we continue down the DK pricing list here and look at our next option, it's kind of a coin flip there between Clayton Kershaw and Charlie Morton. Ultimately, I think we go to Kershaw. Now, there was a touch of weather concern. I don't think it's going to be much of an issue. I have not looked at the most recent weather update, but it looked like it was not. I don't think a postponement is in play, but let's just read this here. Says like everything is going to be close to the ballpark, but should not be a big issue. So that's fine. So with Kershaw, Cleveland is the team. I didn't mention by name, but they were a team that over the last couple of years has really had a low strikeout rate. They've turned over a significant portion of their lineup via trades, injuries to Josh Naylor, etc. So their lineup actually has more strikeouts than it has in quite some time. They've got Ramon Laureano in there. They picked up off the scrap heap from Oakland. You've got Eric Haas, who they just basically picked up off the scrap heap via Detroit, who released him, designated him for assignment outright. And then now you've got Gabriel Arias playing more frequently because Rosario's in with the Dodgers. Ooh, remember me spot if he's in the lineup. But that causes some challenges. So Steven Kwan doesn't strike out. Jose Ramirez doesn't strike out. Miles Straw doesn't strike out, but two of those guys also don't hit the ball for power. That would be Kwan and Straw. So it's one of those where there's a lot more strikeouts available, which makes things kind of interesting there for Kershaw. The thing we'll want to remember is I was actually surprised last night when the Dodgers, they stole like 4 or 5 bases. Of course, it was against Syndergaard. I probably should have figured they were going to do that, but it was Freeman and Betts, and I didn't think their stars would run. I thought they would win the game. They didn't last night. But where I'm going with that is there's no need for the Dodgers to really push things. They're they should make the postseason. They want to make a run at it. We're not going to see, 100 pitches from Kershaw. I think he's going to kind of have a soft, I'm going to call it a maintenance cap, 85 to 90. If things are going well or he's feeling great or whatever, could he throw 100? Sure. I just don't think we're going to get that extra inning like we would. We saw that, I guess, 2 nights ago with Luis Castillo. He had 93 pitches through his, whatever it was, 6 or 7 innings against the White Sox. Then they didn't bring him out for the next one, even though he hadn't hit 100, right? It just sort of depends where the pitch count breaks, because that 100 is sort of that magic number on that. So Kershaw is number 2. You could use him in your DK cash games. I'd rather just save the money and go with Reed. And then the third pitcher is Charlie Morton. So Morton's kind of an interesting option here, because I think he's going to be, he's only a couple weeks. I'm going to call him up here, a couple weeks away from hitting his next birthday. I can't spell Charlie and talk at the
I
same
bet you can
time.
do it. You'll get there.
There we go. So Baseball Reference tells me, so he's got about 2 months. November 12th is his next birthday. So he's 39 right now. The interesting thing with him is heading into his last start, his walk rates were off of the charts. It was some ungodly thing like 5 per 9 or something crazy. So I just wanted to see, because I don't remember specifically what had happened with him. So he's 39 now, right? He's still a good pitcher. He does a decent job of limiting contact, inducing ground balls, but he does allow more home runs when the ball is hit in the air. So his home run per fly ball rate is going up. But if I am coming down here to look at the walks, so heading into, he had gone 5 walks, 3 walks, 4 walks, 7 walks, and then he only had 1 walk in his last start. He did have 10 strikeouts. His 2 starts prior to that, 8 strikeouts combined. So we got a nice little throwback game there against the watered down New York Yankees. But I think he is someone who is interesting tonight, a distant, third behind those guys. And I'd still point per dollar put him behind Reed, but he's in play because you're hoping, he could get 6-7 innings, handful of strikeouts. I think 6 innings is more likely. He has only gone 7 innings twice since June 2nd. That's another one that's important to note. Guess what? Atlanta's going to be making the playoffs as well. They're not going to push him into the ground. So let's call it 6 innings seems reasonable tonight.
All right, great breakdown of the top there. I want to say Chris Williams, our Apple guy, it's his birthday today. He just said it in chat. Happy birthday, Chris Williams. Sharing a birthday with the legend Greg Ehrenberg. Are you also turning 16, Chris Williams? That's probably too young to work at the Apple store. So I'm guessing you're older than Greg is today.
I know Ehrenberg, sweet 16, never been kissed.
Never been kissed. I mean, it's only a matter of time. Though. Our boy is growing up so fast.
Yes,
so fast.
Yes.
All right. Moving on to the mid-range at pitcher. And I'm so in the mid-range we have, let's see, who do we want to call mid-range? I guess Chris Sale. Is it really just Chris Sale? Yeah. Like, are you? We'll just go there. Any interest in playing Chris Sale?
No,
it's obviously a tough matchup with Houston. Okay.
A tough matchup against Houston. He's made 2 starts since returning from his injury. In those, he hasn't closed out the 5th inning yet. 10 total strikeouts, not the worst in the world. But guess who he's gone against? The Nationals in Detroit. Yeah, Houston a little bit different, even with I think Yonder Alonso's out tonight. But they still have a decent lineup. They had Tucker was out with an illness, but he hit a home run last night. He's back. He's phenomenal in lefty-lefty matchups. So I'm not particularly interested in a Chris Sale that's going to go 5 or less innings would be my guess. We'll call it 5 to be generous. It would be a surprise if he goes out for any part of the 6th inning. So that means that, I don't see him getting 5 1/3, 5 2/3 innings. So 5 is probably his realistic limit because why at this point of the season? So the challenge there is if we're starting to ignore him, we're running out of pitchers real quick on DraftKings. And so we've really limited ourselves to just 4 players, the top 3 in the first tier, and then Detmers. That still makes these other guys interesting in tournaments. Why is that? Well, now I need someone to do poorly. Could Kershaw tweak something or not feel great and they pull him? Yeah, for sure. Of course. Could Morton, give up a bunch of walks and somebody run into one tonight? Yeah, he absolutely could. It's a lineup loaded with power going against him. So you're starting to say, okay, well, how does my guy climb up the chart? Because this isn't as small of a slate as we see a lot of the times, but you can see even with the earlier slate today, some of those teams are still doing okay when they have Ohtani and not very many points, right? You can see that if there's a real popular pitcher or a real popular pitcher who just doesn't get there. All of a sudden you're taking out a whole chunk of the field. So the other guys that were rostering some of these people, like, there's no way I'd play them. All of a sudden you're like, well, shoot, I wish I would have done that, right? So that's kind of where you are with Sale. Will he be in my tournament lineups? Yeah, I'll cap him at 20%, take whatever I get. But okay. I don't even really want to endorse him. It's just a function of, I got to play 2 pitchers. I'm playing 150 plus lineups, #math. Next one I would put in that I think should be in that tier equal to Sale is going to be Mackenzie Gore. And so Mackenzie Gore, it feels like he's been in the league forever, but this really is essentially his second year, right? Because he did a little bit there with the Padres. Nationals acquired him, so he doesn't have a ton of experience, but he was a hyped prospect for quite some time. His results have been all over the place. 5 starts ago, crushed it against San Francisco, 5 shutout innings, 8 strikeouts. His last start took care of business against Boston, 6.1 innings, shutout, 7 strikeouts. The 3 games in between, he lasted just 16 innings and allowed, do the math, 11 runs. He had 7 walks, only 12 strikeouts. The truth probably lies somewhere in the middle. He's going against New York. Would it be a shock if some of the New York right-handed power hitters took care of business? No. Would it be a shock if he still got 6, 7, maybe even 8 strikeouts against the Yankees tonight? No.
Right.
Is anything in between possible? Yes.
Sure.
Welcome to baseball, friends. Yeah. If you haven't figured it out by now, we're trying to, guessing is not the right word. We're trying to manage risk, upside expectations, and figure out what the hell is the field doing and how can I make chaos and uncertainty work for me. You're in that range right here with a depleted Yankees lineup, an inconsistent Gore. 6 shutout innings is in play, so is 3 home runs in the first 2 innings.
Okay. Lot to catch up on in chat. First of all, Chris Williams is 38, so it's honestly, I think that's younger than I would have guessed. I feel like I would have guessed that Chris Williams is older than myself, but I always assume most people are older than me. I think if I don't know them, unless they're like super childish, I just assume people are older, which probably I'm going to get to that point in my life now where that's going to change at some point. But
so people forget, Neil, you just turned 40, but you leap year. So really 160.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
We don't need to tell people that, though, EMac. Malakar gifted out 5 memberships. That is awesome. And then
Malakar, the elder statesman of
Malakar, I know is older than me. He is definitely
he and Stephen Leibowitz are they're my elders. I look up to them.
Corey Ballmer then sent a super chat that said gifted 100 memberships. So looked the same as Malakar's. Everybody responded, holy shit, wow, that's incredible. Turns out he was just trolling us. He didn't actually gift anybody anything. He just said in his super chat, gifted 100 memberships. I
applaud that. Well played. That is within the rules. You currently are winning chat right now, Corey.
1-2 says Sean V is correct. Don't question it. Okay. Yep. That is one approach to life. You could just take what Sean V says and run with it. And then Gerardo says, any props you guys like? I have not looked at any props yet. Do you have any props that you like already? I can pull up.
See.
Yeah, let me go see if I can.
Well, because we are sponsored by a sports wagering site.
We are sponsored by Caesars, so maybe I can see if there are any Caesars bets that we like. Caesars props.
All right, let me just upload my cash game placeholder, and I will look because I always call out one in the Spotlight Pitchers Top Stacks article every single day. Let's see if it was. Francisco Alvarez was my call. Before I go into my little spiel about him, let's see, is he in the lineup? He is batting 7th tonight. So this was an interesting one. So Francisco Alvarez, rookie, does have 21 home runs. 18 of them have been against same-handed pitchers. The thing you want to remember is the ballpark and the warm weather, not hot anymore, warm, 90 degrees sliding into the low 80s throughout this game, about 60% humidity, that is one of the better hitting environments we have tonight. Yes, would it be better if it was in the hundreds sliding down to the 90s? Well, we should have been playing this matchup in July and August, but here we are towards the end of summer. So the thing you want to remember is, I mentioned Charlie Morton does a pretty good job with the ground ball, but I mentioned that slightly increasing home run per fly ball rate. So he's not totally impervious to power bats. I didn't put in my notes. I think he has given up like 13 or 18 home runs this year. And I think that if I remember correctly, it was kind of an even split between lefties and righties. Again, I'm going from memory here, and I researched a lot of these and then only write up a couple. So I could be misremembering from a picture from another day. But overall, when we look at the odd shopper, true odds feature this morning anyway, you could get a 680 line where we thought the true odds were closer to 575. So that's about a 12% inefficiency. Now, you want to use Odd Shopper, and this is why you want to join, Caesars and BetMGM and DK and FanDuel and do the pick'em sites and all that. You want as many options as you can because they'll hang different numbers. And just by looking at the numbers, and you'll really want to do this for football and for college football, you can find 5-10% movement across these different ones. That's like getting rake-free bets. That's like becoming a 50-50 better into winning 55% just by shopping bets appropriately and sustaining your bankroll, not having to redeposit, potentially being able to win. That's why you want to use Odd Shopper. So I try to call out different stuff like that in this article. I think he has about a 19% chance for a home run. So home runs are long shots, right? Especially when you're going for a guy rookie against the extreme veteran, and then you've got the righty thing. It just so happens that Alvarez has been pretty good against righties. So I like that bet. I've made that wager already today.
Great. Sounds like a great wager. I am just trying to find, and I don't know what state you're in. I think bets change based on what state you're in, but one that I'm finding that we like in Odd Shopper that is available on Caesars is Austin Gomber under 4.5 strikeouts. It's only a 1% EV bet, so it's not a super strong bet, but that is one that I'm finding is available in every state on Odd Shopper. So if you want to take
that'll lock in about 10 minutes because that game's at 6:40. For
so
those
if you want to make
dilly-dallying or trying to build out a parlay, you're gonna lose that one off your card.
Yeah, it's not going to be there very long. So that's the best I can. I'm not that great at using Odd Shopper since I can't sports bet here in Minnesota. So I'm guessing that I'm not finding the actual best bets here, but that is the best that I am currently finding for MLB. All right. We'll see if we can find you something else as we move along. I see Chris Williams gave out 5 more memberships, so he's giving out gifts for his birthday. Nice guy there. Ken Roddy points out that he is older than us as well. He's 68, so another older guy in the chat.
There we go.
Nick Ostro says State Fair season. Yeah, absolutely. I'll probably go into a concert at some point at the Minnesota State Fair. It's a big event here in Minnesota, the State Fair. But okay, bringing it back to the slate, we do have some weather concern here in Cleveland. Have you looked at that at all, EMac? Looks like we have some concerns with the weather. Are you doing anything with that? Like, are you going to fade the Cleveland game at all? Are you going to play
no,
it? What are you doing
not at all. I'm gonna call up weather.com. I'm now that I'm back in Virginia, I'm plugged into the router, so I can do this where I don't like to do it when I'm not plugged into the router because this can be a little bit intensive. So I'm gonna call up weather.com, weather in motion, and just quickly look at it. It seemed like most everything was going to be it's kind of coming southeast down from the Great Lakes, is if I remember what the weather path was correctly. So it looks like at worst there's a glancing blow between 8 and another one around 10 o'clock. Are they going to get rain in the 11 o'clock hour? Yeah, it looks like they probably will. But again, that doesn't tell us really the overarching coverage. Does it end up over the stadium? Is it enough to be troublesome, etc.? I'm not going to worry about it. I think they can at least get 5 innings in for Kershaw before it's going to be a problem. But today we thought there were 2 different rain delays today for some of the games, and we didn't really think those were going to be issues, and it turned out they were. We're guessing here a lot of times, or Mother Nature has different plans, especially when it comes to humidity, the Great Lakes, et cetera. I think we're going to be okay.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm going to take the same approach. It's a little bit interesting because it's a short slate. It's only 6 games. So it's like if you can fade that game and it doesn't go off, you would find some actual edge. But yeah, I think I'm more inclined to play it. Also, Obi-Wan says, hope Greg gets his bidet. Yeah. In case he missed it, EMac, that was Greg has for years been asking for a bidet for his birthday and nobody's ever bought it for him. So we're all hoping that Greg can finally get his bidet. I know it would mean a lot to him. Chris says that he mistyped. He's not actually 38. He's 41. So he is actually older than me. So I guess I was correct in thinking he's older than me. All right. So you said you would play Mackenzie Gore of the cheap guys. What's your level of interest in Luis Severino? Getting 26% ownership. Okay.
How much is this ownership?
We're projecting 26% ownership for Luis Severino.
Okay, so I'm setting my caps right now. So Reed Detmers, I'm going to set at 40. I know I'm also going to put a point cap there that's probably going to boost that up. So I'll probably end up matching the field around 45. Kevin Gausman, I'm setting it at I picked 43 for whatever reason. That's where I'm at. I want to go a little bit above the field. Severino's at 26. I've set him at 20. We'll get to that in a second. Charlie Morton is at 25. I'm gonna go 20. I'm comfortable with that. Jose Urquidy is at 18. What happens if I go under? I'll take 15% of him. Kershaw, we have him at 17. I'm gonna go 30 for Kershaw, and I'm going to bump him up to 17 DK points to make sure I get a little bit of it. That could be a touch aggressive. That's not getting where I want it to. So I'm going with 17.9, and that should get a little bit better ratio for me. Mackenzie Gore, I'm going 25%. That's another wild card. I'm going to bump him up to 14. Why am I bumping these up? Because I want them to start coming into the lineups instead of with the better stacks, instead of coming in at the end because they have that worst point per dollar. And I usually keep my randomness of around 35%. So it's not creating a massive outliers. It's just giving enough to give a mix and match of and that's how I like to play it. That doesn't mean that's the right way. There are many ways to use uniques and such, but I'm going that route. I'm not a fan of Dean Kramer. I'm just going to go 15% of him. Sales at 10. I'm going to go 15% of him. Brett Kennedy. How many innings do we think he's going to go? 3, 4? He went 5 in his last start or his last outing on the 18th. On the 11th, he went 2. So we'll say he could go 4 or 5. There was another guy they called up. I'm trying to think of his name. Lyon Richardson. He is their 3rd ranked prospect. He's not really expected to make it up to the big league until next year. That'll be the first time he's really a regular. He has a good fastball and a good changeup. However, they've really not been running him out there a lot. He has been pitching about 3 or 4 innings at a time in the minors. So he is 23 years old. I'm trying to call up his minor league game log. So he has been at AAA, the Chattanooga Lookouts. He then got called up at the end of July to AAA Louisville. Then he ended up making 1 start for the Reds. He went 3 innings, 66 pitches, went back down to AAA. He went 50 pitches. And then on the 17th, he went 46. So we need to learn that it's hard to think these guys are they got the extra player today. He was the extra player called up because they have the doubleheader. So he is going to pitch tonight. I would say can count on maybe 3 innings for each of these guys. I don't even know how to parse this out because how many times have we already seen this year with Sean Manaea supposedly going to be the bulk guy and then not even pitching that day, or Nick Pivetta going to be the bulk guy, doesn't pitch, but then starts the next day. It's like, we're guessing at this point, but on a slate like this, we need to consider it. I didn't look to see if Richardson was in the player pool. I'm not really interested in either of those guys. I put in Kennedy for 7.5 DK points. I don't think I'll get him in my lineups, but that's probably where I'd put Richardson as well. I'd rather just pile it on, read Detmers and move on. Yeah,
Richardson is 6,600 on DraftKings.
Oh, so he is in the player pool. Okay. Yeah. So in that case, for those of you on DK, a few ways you can add it. I like to just go to upload. Type in Lyon Richardson. And let's give him 7.9 points. Why not? And then that should make him appear. And then I hit refresh, and then he'll be there, and we're good to go. You can uncheck things and click them in and all of that. That just takes too long.
Yeah,
I know the shortcut from before they actually gave you the option to click and unclick and do all these things. So
yeah.
So let me go back to my pitching here. So I'll cap both Kennedy and Richardson at 5%. If I get them, cool. If not, whatever. But I'm curious. I am telling you all this is I want to run some of these and tell you where I crap out at these, because you really need to have about 220, preferably 230 to 240 as your pitcher caps, because you have to have 200%. So you need wiggle room. Otherwise, your stuff's never going to run, or it's going to be incredibly slow. So let's see. I've got 7, 8, 9, 12. Okay, so I've got about 250. So mine should be fine. I doubt I will get Xavier Curry. We didn't mention him. He's going against the Dodgers. I have him at 7.9 points. You guys are sensing a theme here. But circling back to Severino, he's 5,400. Severino has been pretty bad lately. Not just pretty bad. He's been really bad. So if we look at, hopefully I wrote him up today. So Severino, since July, he's made 8 starts, an 11.1 ERA, an 8 FIP, and he is allowing Neil a 384 batting average against. Basically, he makes every opposing team. We're going old school stats. Every opposing team essentially is created of nothing but batting champions when they're facing Luis Severino since the beginning of July. Okay, what's worse than that? Well, allowing 15 walks in 31.2 innings and 12 home runs. Okay, so we want to play the Nationals, right? Well, DK goosed their prices, so it makes things interesting. So you got CJ Abrams, Layden Thomas, Joey Meneses, Stone Garrett. They're your main guys. Keibert Ruiz, I think he's in the lineup, should be good as well. Abrams in his last 19 starts, he's the guy that got as part of that Mackenzie Gore trade for Juan Soto and who was it? Josh Bell. So in his 19 starts, he has 12 steals. He's only been caught one time. The other guys over their last 30 days or so each have pretty close to a 350 WOBA, 200 ISO. The rest of the lineup, hot garbage, but those guys are decent. But remember, Severino used to be a lights-out, lockdown pitcher.
Yeah.
Is he hurt now? Has he got a minor injury? Has he just lost it? We don't know.
We don't know.
But it's not like these. This is more a confluence of events where the Nationals have been surprisingly competent.
All right.
For some nameless guys for the most part.
We're gonna get into the bats a little bit, but just finishing up pitchers first. Do you have any final thoughts on pitchers, or can we?
I'm matching the field.
On? Okay,
but I will be stacking Nationals.
Not taking big stands on pitchers. I think that is a good enough.
We missed Jose Quintana and Dean Kramer. All right, Jose Quintana, I put him in there for 12 points. I think we have him a little bit lower. There's no real need to get him. And then Dean Kramer, we have him, I think, at around 12 points. I put him in at 14. I want to get a little bit of that. That's sort of my counter move against the Reed Detmers, because he's at 6,700 on DK, $900 difference. But I want to get him a little bit just so I don't have Detmers on like 70% of lineups. All right. So I've capped Detmers at 40. So that's not going to happen. But if I didn't, it wouldn't work out that way. So,
okay. Perfect. All right. Well, let's move on and talk about bats a little bit. But first, guys, as I said at the beginning of the show, this show is sponsored by Caesars. If Caesars is available in your state, if you have sports betting available, but you have not signed up for Caesars for some reason, most places are going to find first deposit matched just up to the amount that you put in. At Caesars, you put $50 and you bet your $50, you're going to get $250 in bonus bets. It's a fantastic deal. So take advantage of it now while you can. Usually these deals come out really hot, and then over time they decrease the deal. So maybe it'll still be here in 3 weeks, but it's going to be $100, or maybe it'll be $50 to get $50. The deals generally decrease over time. So when it's brand new, this is the time to strike, time to take advantage of these deals. Fantastic deal. I know Mike just put it up on the screen, but the link is in the description of this video. It's going to be in chat as well. It's a great deal. You need to be 18 plus everywhere, 21 plus sometimes, some places to play. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. But check it out. If you have not yet checked out Caesars and it's available, I highly recommend doing so. EMac, are you okay? Mike did just put it into chat. Thank you, Mike, for doing that. Are we ready to talk some stacks here, EMac?
Let's fire away.
Nutri Noche says EMac could talk for 3 hours straight. Yes, EMac absolutely could talk for 3 hours. If I didn't interrupt EMac, I think he would just go on and on. He's just he's a machine out here. He's got all the stats to give you. He's got a lot of opinions. EMac definitely could if he wanted to, but unfortunately.
And when I want your opinion, chat, I will give it to you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's talk about some stacks. Now, we had somebody was asking us about Blue Jays versus Red Sox. I like both those stacks. Then we had Bless responded. So Andrew Martinez asked us which one we like. Bless said, I can give you my Cash App if you want to throw your money away on those teams tonight. I like Boston and Toronto tonight, so I'm not on the same page. I think that they're pretty good stacks here. But EMac, I'm going to throw it to you. So we'll start with the chalkiest stacks on this list. So that is the Braves, the Dodgers, the Yankees, the only three stacks that are getting double-digit ownership. Of those three, are you going to be matching or overweight to the field on any of them?
So I've got a bunch of different screens up. So just tell me where they are, because I'll put it this way. I will probably cap out at any of my stacks will be capped at 15% overall.
Okay. We don't have any that are at 15%. Okay. So I'll start at so actually we have 4 stacks now getting over 10%. The top of the board, Atlanta, 14.4% projected ownership, 16% chance of being the top stack. How much do you like Atlanta tonight?
All right. So Atlanta going against Jose Quintana, even with Kevin Pillar he's batting second. So what is that? So is he a pinch hit risk? Maybe. And here's why. He played, who was it? Didn't they play against like somebody in Desclafani the other day, and he got 4 at bats, right? He didn't get pinch hit for that. So he's facing a lot of righties. So he's competent against both. They've got some people who are dinged up. I'd be kind of surprised if a remember me type game, they're going to pinch hit him, because we got to think about that. He was with the Giants at some point. He's played with like 9 teams. But he has a 220 ISO in his last 83 at bats against lefties, so he's reasonable. If we flip it over and see how is he against righties, a 150 ISO, contact way down, strikeouts up, but when he connects, it's a decent chance of an extra base hit. That's totally fine. And then you've got Acuna, who's just a god at this point, and you just put him in your cash game lineup and figure the rest of the stuff out. Austin Riley is not quite been as good this year as he was the last 2 years against lefties, but guess what? 350 WOBA and a 260 ISO. So basically elite, not quite the best hitter in the game like he was there, but elite. Matt Olson, stellar in lefty-lefty matchups. We look to see how is Quintana against fellow lefties. He doesn't give up any power. Doesn't strike fellow lefties out, but he doesn't give up any power. So that's good to know. Those guys are all good. Ozuna's on fire. Sean Murphy, a nice little hitter, catcher option. So those guys are okay. Vaughn Grissom in the lineup, which means who's out? Nicky Lopez isn't in, but Orlando Arcia is. So they've got a good lineup. We're paying for it. We should pay for it. I'm glad that the teams or the DFS sites have really boosted their salaries. Makes it more interesting. Otherwise, it's like having Coors Field on literally every slate.
What about the Dodgers?
We go for them.
How would you compare the Dodgers? Do you have as much interest in the Dodgers as you do the Braves?
So let's look at the Dodgers. Probably have a little more interest in the Dodgers, but it's going to be more concentrated. It's really Betts, Freeman, Will Smith, and Max Muncy. Little bit to James Outman. Chris Taylor, where is he? He's batting fifth, I think. Let me refresh this. So we like him better against lefties. He hasn't played some of the games against lefties, probably because they have Rosario now. When he's in the game, he is usually in the entire game because he plays like 3 infield positions and 2 outfield positions. So when he's in the game, he's pretty solid. So yeah, he's batting fifth there. So I don't really like Kike Hernandez in this one. Rosario and Rojas, not really. So Outman's really the only guy I like at the back end, but these guys are it's easier to concentrate them because they're all adjacent to each other. So you get that little boost of synergy, hypothetical synergy, since they're not as spread out as some of the Atlanta options are.
Okay.
So tiny tick for them. And they're on the road, which means an extra at bat, or you're guaranteed the 9th inning. Whereas at home, you're not if you're ahead. Oh, Atlanta's on the road today, though. No, they're in Atlanta. Sorry.
Yeah, they're in Atlanta.
Backwards.
All right. So the third most popular team on the slate from a bats perspective is the Angels, which I think is a little bit complicated. I'm assuming that Shohei Ohtani, I think he got hurt today, so he's probably not playing tonight. We've got him out of our projections. We do have Trout projected to play.
I think that sounds reasonable. Yeah, and then they got their first baseman. He's going to play. What's his name? Nolan Chanel. Chanel. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I haven't seen him play yet. He has like a dozen at bats, but he should be in the lineup, and he's really cheap. So that's going to drive a lot of the stack popularity. Moustakas he's solid, as is Drury. Has good same-handed power. Tice and Chanel and Trout are all in my DK cash lineup. We're not going to have that lineup in the next 20 minutes because their game, what are they in the 7th or 8th inning now?
Oh, is that? Are they still there?
Yeah, they're still playing. But in any event, those are the guys you like. With Trout being hurt, trying to figure out. Yeah, Hunter Renfroe and Mickey Moniak should both make the lineup. Or sorry, not with Trout, with the Ohtani being hurt. I'm trying to think of who's going to DH.
And we got a question in Discord about Trout also, but we do think that Trout is probably going to play. We've got him projected in currently.
If Ohtani's out, Trout could DH. Right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, but he's missed I think I read 70 days or something like that. It's been or 7 weeks. It's been a long time since he's been in.
Okay. So you do have interest. So we have the Angels projected for 12% ownership, 15% chance to be in the top value stack, 9% chance to be in the top stack overall. Do you think you're going to match the field's 12% and you're going to get there?
I'll probably will, but I've capped every player I have at 20%. And the reason I do that is even if I get overweight on stacks, I want it to be with different players.
Yep. Spread out your stacks. Yep. I do.
So
I do
let me
the same
look
thing.
at my team stacks here. It's hard to tell because I'm just looking at 5. Why is it telling me I have 40% of Angels 5-man stacks? That's weird. So I'll just look at. I said everything. I capped everybody at 12 every stack at 12%. So when you do 4 4s, you're going to get a little. Because it's counting Reed Detmers. That's why it's counting Detmers in there. So the Angels.
You can remove that, right?
Pardon?
You can remove that in Fantasy Cruncher. Remove pitchers from your stack. Okay.
Yes, but I've only run 4 stacks, so it's still counting it, even though he's really not a part of it. So, but yes, good point there. I've never really looked for this particular answer, but it really stands out. Also, like, how the hell do I have that? Because I'm really only playing 5 of the Angels. But it's Tice, Chanel, Drury, Trout, Renfroe are the main, and Moustakas. So I guess I'm playing 6 of them, but it's mostly Trout, Tice, and the rookie first baseman.
Okay. Chanel. All right. The fourth double-digit owned team is the Yankees going up against Mackenzie Gore. I know you have some interest in Mackenzie Gore, but you alluded to the fact that this could go. There's a wide range of outcomes in this matchup. We've got the Yankees at 12% ownership, 15% chance to be in the top value stack, 8% chance to be in the top stack. What's your level of interest here?
So funny enough, let me go see if I can get my cash game lineup back up. I ended up with like 3 Yankees in my cash game lineup. Volpe's in there. I know that. I don't think I didn't have Judge in there. I had some, not Gleyber Torres. Who's their crappy guy batting 6th? He was in there as well. Oh, that's Volpe. Their crappy guy batting 7th or whatever it is. One of their infielders.
Everson Pereira.
Yeah, Pereira snuck in. So I love Aaron Judge in this matchup. Who doesn't? I think Giancarlo Stanton is pretty awesome as well because, going against Mackenzie Gore. But after that, I mean, you're hoping Gleyber Torres does okay. And then everything falls off the shelf because everybody's hurt. for them. So those guys are really driving it. If you want to be different, exclude one of those three from your stacks. If you're making 20 lineups or whatever, and you need that differentiation, that'll do it for you. But I don't think we shy away from them. Let's find some stacks I'm shying away from, Neil.
Yeah, so we just went over all of the popular stacks, and now I'm kind of going to open it up to you. Like, who do you want to talk about? First of all, are there any contrarian stacks that you are going to be overweight? Let's start with stacks that you do like today that are not popular. Are there any that you're getting like, well above the field?
Well, now we're in the fun part of me building, because I did my 4-4s, I did the 5-0s, and now I'm going to lock in some players and build out a few stacks. So the Nationals, you really have to do that because their point per dollar prices are just not getting you there. Like I'm getting CJ Abrams probably because he's a shortstop, but I have 7% of him, 2% of Lane Thomas, 1% of Joey Meneses, and 4% of Keeper Ruiz. I'm locking all those guys in, and I'm going to run 10 lineups and see. It's probably going to crap out. Nope, it's going to give me all 10. So that's good. I'm going to add Lane Thomas, Stone Garrett towards the bottom there, and do the same thing. So now I've got 3% of my lineup suddenly have turned into Nationals lineup. So I'll slide that in there. And now those guys have all gone up to 8% in my lineup. So that's a way to quickly force in something, because then that allows my other player caps to do what I want them to do, the randomness, the mix, etc. I'm going to do this. I'm looking at the Dodgers. I'm pretty good on them, but I'm guessing I'm not on Houston because we haven't really talked about them. Heavy on Altuve, but not really the rest of the players. Do the same thing, click in 4 or 5 that I like, build out 10 lineups. Then Toronto was the other one. What do we have tonight in Toronto? So you've got the Brandon Belt, Vladimir Guerrero conundrum, right? We can only roster one of them, so that makes it interesting. So you lock in the players you want, and then for that, and then you build out 20 stacks and let it filter in which first baseman you get. And you can do that by locking in 3 players and saying, I want 4 from this team, or locking in 4 players and saying, I want 5. That's a quick way to just get a stack super quick, rather than building out a group or doing all that other stuff, because it's baseball and enough weird stuff happens. So we can't get too picky.
Taste of Skittles says, dang, I missed the popular stack. So EMac, going back to those popular stacks, can you just rank them for me? So it's the Braves, the Dodgers, the Angels, and the Yankees are the 4 popular stacks, all over 10% ownership.
Dodgers 1, Braves 2, Yankees 3, and I'll take Angels 4.
Okay. You're talking about Houston. I just noticed Houston only has 1 lefty in the lineup today. Kyle Tucker, the only lefty in the entire Houston lineup, is sort of interesting. But you're not playing anybody other than Altuve. You don't want Bregman in the 2-hole.
No, that was just coming in on crunches on a loan.
Okay.
I locked in. I did 2 different 4-man iterations. So now I've got 2. Where by doing that, now I've got 200 total lineups. So now I'm going to get ready to upload these. But this is just a quick. Sometimes the biggest questions we get asked, how to use Fantasy Cruncher, how to do this, how do you set up that, how to use the top stacks tool, it's like, we've got some evergreen content. There are many ways to do this.
Yeah,
there are many right ways of doing it. There are wrong ways of doing it, but everybody has a different playing style, or how are you going to get there? And I just kind of ham fist this a little more than using the Sims per se. Well, I'm short on time. If I had time, I'd love to use those. I don't. So I'm putting floors. I'm capping my stacks. I'm capping individual players. I'm doing different things. How am I able to do that? Well, this is like my 7th year using Fantasy Cruncher for baseball. I figured this stuff out for baseball and basketball. You know what I suck at? Football. I'm not good at Fantasy Cruncher.
That's an unfortunate one to suck at, because that one's the most money involved. I think you and I have it sounds like you and I have pretty similar approaches to baseball, just trying to like create a mesh of like different stack combos, like stacking different combos within the same team and then stacking with different secondary teams and, different pitching combos. And you're just kind of, using it to create a lot of very different lineups instead of trying to concentrate very much on like, I'm going to play 50%. Some people play like 50% of one lineup. Sounds like you and I are more similar in that we're kind of spreading it out to just a lot of different stacks and trying to make sure we get unique combos within those stacks.
That's DK. I play it differently on Yahoo, where I'm only going to build one or two lineups for that night, right? So it's know your contest sizes. Am I playing these gigantic contests? No, I'm trying to get in as many of the little 20 maxes as I can, and then I'm creating my own GPP because they all have a similar payout. If I can get in the dollar and the quarter and the dime or whatever, this is a good one to do. I'm going to give this to you guys anyway. I tried to do it for FanDuel last year. I just don't have the time. But if you start on when they launch their contests, you can get into 100 entries, 150 entries in their $1 contest. Their $1 contests are amazing. They're 100-man leagues or 112-person leagues, whatever they are. They change them every now and then. But that's where if you win, you get you get $20 or $25.
Okay.
That 1% is really a 1% lineup. That same lineup that's 1% gets you 25x in the leagues on FanDuel. That's going to get you 5x at best in any of the contests on their main slate, including their single entry ones. Why wouldn't you go into these other ones? That's what DFS used to look like, was these little leagues. No one wants to join them. Then people will tell me, well, you can't win as much. I don't ever redeposit.
Right.
Okay. I'm winning, but what are your goals? And the answer is, well, yeah, I'm not going to win $5,000, but when I get a 1% lineup, I'm going to get paid for it. When you get a 1% lineup, you just you may not have to redeposit that week, but you're going to have to next week.
Yeah.
So.
It's a very different type of game. All right, Mike, can you pull up the lineup generator for us? Let's take a look real quick at some lineup generator lineups, talk about what we're seeing here. Again, the lineup generator, if you're not familiar with it, it's only giving you plus EV lineups. Every single lineup you're going to get has been run through simulations at Stochastic. It's been found to be a long-term profitable lineup. So if you have not yet signed up for the lineup generator, highly recommend doing so. If you use our link which Mike is going to put in chat if he hasn't already, it's going to be just $4.48 for your first week. That's 50% off. It's usually $8.95 per week. I think it's a great deal at $8.95 per week. And we do some DraftKings lineups, Mike, because again, you can create 20 lineups at a time, but you can create more than that if you really want to. Do all stack types and all lineup types. So all that. So we're going to get a mix of chalky, balanced, and contrarian. Skip, not locking anybody. And let's just see what the lineups look like here. So the very first lineup we have here looks like it is a Yankees stack with, it looks like Pete Alonso, Ronald Acuna as one-offs. I'm not sure who the last one. It's cut off at the bottom here. Mike, can you scroll down so we can see the bottom of this? Yeah, so it's a 5-man Yankees stack with Acuna, Alonso, and I missed one. But this one on the contrarian end of the spectrum. Oh, Kirk as the third one-off. Chris Sale, Jose Urquidy as the pitchers. You can see this one, 130% total lineup ownership, kind of on the contrarian side. Now, this one bounces a little bit more chalky, 154% ownership. Mike, you just go through and save 20 lineups, just like go rapid fire 20 saves. We can just, after you've saved 20, I just want to show people what it looks like at the end. It'll show you your exact exposures. At this point, you can decide, is this how much I want of these different players? If you want less, you can go back, discard them, get some lineups that don't have them. Very cool tool. Check it out if you have not done so already. And then, Mike, can we take a look real quickly at some FanDuel lineups as well? So Mike's going to pull those up. Okay. So go all stack types, all lineup types. Skip. FanDuel, Severin. Okay, yeah, just go through, save 20. We'll see what our exposures look like. On FanDuel, all right, Paredes, our highest exposed, Randy Arozarena. I guess we're too late for FanDuel, so we can skip the FanDuel segment because it already locked. Forgot the FanDuel locked early. We don't even have this Tampa game in the pool on DraftKings, so we'll skip it, get back to talking about the DraftKings slate, which is the only one that we still have going right now. EMac, all right, so we've talked about most of the stacks that we're interested in playing. Are there any other stacks that we have not talked about that are going to be a big part of your pool tonight?
There are not.
Okay, so we have talked about all of EMac's primary slates. Any big fades for you?
No, sorry, I'm having a little lineup issue right here.
Okay, then I'll respond to J Stamp says, is the lineup generator good for the NFL season? So I don't know if it was available last NFL season, but yeah, it'll be the exact same thing this year. At least that's my assumption, is that it's going to be the exact same thing where you are only getting plus EV lineups. Like every single lineup you're going to get is going to be a lineup that was, I think we had it for showdown slates last year, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yes, we did. We I think we kicked it off right around the Super Bowl. So
okay, so
that was
came in pretty late.
Cool.
Yeah, I can guarantee you it's going to be a good product. Like we wouldn't put something out that is half-assed. It's going to be, and then it's going to evolve over time. But yeah, it's only going to be plus EV lineups that you're going to get from the lineup generator for NFL season as well. So yeah, highly recommend it. All right. Yeah, Jake says
I'm good now. Sorry, there's other questions.
Okay. Well, Jake says it's time for dong picks. But let me just re-ask that question first. Now that you are good, are there any lineup and any stacks that you're like full fading or getting well under the field?
Nothing too Baltimore. I have basically no Baltimore.
Okay.
I have basically no ownership. Cleveland. Yeah, Cleveland, no Baltimore. I'm just at 5%. Those are 5-minute stacks. Very low on Cincinnati as well. That's unfortunate because that I should have built out a leverage stack or a few, because Reed Detmers, he has a no-hitter. He looked really good in his last start. I'm going from memory again, but I think he went 7 1/3 inning and gave up 1 hit and 4 walks. So I think they must have taken him out there, and it was like around 103 pitches. That was last Wednesday. They gave him a whole week off. The 2 starts prior to that, a little bit rough. So we've seen him with some up and down stuff. He's probably just kind of tired at this point. It's been a long season, etc. He's going to be a good pitcher. He's going to be a good pitcher for a while, and his strikeouts have really improved. The walks, the control, etc. It's all the hallmarks of somebody probably kind of hitting a career high in innings. It is what it is. But that's one of those games where it could go sideways. I think they will have a quick hook with him if it's going poorly. That's just my guess. It's like, all right, what's going on with Ohtani? We just got Trout back. We're not mathematically eliminated yet. This is crazy. Let's not leave Detmers out there to hang out to dry. Either, so they may just retrench for the next series, but he could still give up 2-3 home runs to some of these Cincinnati guys. So I'll probably try to tweak that a little bit to adjust, but that would be the one team I missed in all of this, would be Cincinnati.
Okay. It is that time, EMac, for a home run pick. Do you have somebody that you like tonight for a home run?
Okay, so my longer shot home run was Francisco Alvarez.
We've got him with a 24% chance of hitting a home run. He's top 10 in our model.
Oh, does he? Is he really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I'll take that as my call then, because I thought it was going to be closer to 17 or 18%. I'll take that as my call.
Yeah, that's higher odds than I would have guessed for Francisco Alvarez. I am going to go with a guy that I don't know if you've heard of him, EMac, but I think he's got some power. I think he's got some potential. Aaron Judge, 32% chance of hitting a home run tonight is going to be my home run pick. We've got a lot of good picks in chat. Also, Devin even calling a Yandy Diaz dong. Corey Ballmer says Ruiz dong. Jake Swell says Tristan Casas going yard. Definitely could see that. Obi-Wan Kevin Pillar. Yeah, could be nice. Kevin DJ Stewart. A lot of good options.
Wait a second. Pillar Casas against Urquidy. I'll allow it.
Casas we have with a 20% chance of hitting a home run.
That's pretty good.
Kevin Pillar, I'm guessing is going to be lower here somewhere. If I can even find him on the first page. I see DJ Stewart we've got with 15% chance. That was one that somebody called out. Kevin Pillar. We don't have, unless I'm just missing him, I don't think we have very good odds of Kevin Pillar hitting a home run. But EMac.
He only played one season for the Mets. If you would ask me to guess how many years he played for the Mets, I would have said at least 3.
I still get Kevin Pillar mixed up with
Kevin
Millar from the Red Sox.
He Boston.
He was,
or technically it was Kevin Miller was how it was pronounced.
Yeah, Kevin Miller. And there was Bill Miller, spelled Mueller.
Mueller.
Mueller and Millar, and it was all very confusing for me. I was a huge Jason Varitek fan at the time.
Nice. He spurned the Mariners. They drafted him and he said, "I'm going back to college."
Did he really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That was our number 1 pick. I think he was Georgia Tech, if I remember correctly. That was a long time ago. I think I'm remembering that correctly. I could be wrong.
Yeah. All right. We are past lock now. EMac, do you have any final words for the people?
No, but happy Sweet 16 to Greg Ehrenberg. Hopefully he does get his bidet. And if he doesn't, then we're going to take up a collection and get him one of those little ones that you sit on top of the toilet. Now, if you're going to get a bidet, you need the gold plated, the whole porcelain thing sitting there, not the little thing on top. This is Greg. We're just going to get him. Maybe we just get him a squirt gun.
I'm trying to think of you. Like, I feel like bidet, like there's a thing there. Bidet. There's got to be like a good tweet or something. A bidet for the bidet. Hoping you have a good bidet. Somebody go on Twitter. Mike is making a face like he's probably already done this. I can't hear you, Mike. You were muted. Okay, I still cannot hear you, Mike. I could kind of hear you that time. Something is wrong with your audio, unfortunately. But yeah, go on Twitter. Wish Greg a happy bidet. Thank you guys very much for watching. Good luck tonight. Happy bidet to you.